laughs softly, a slow, deliberate sound like a secret shared with the darkness, something big. The words alone make most people squirm, don't they? They hear it and immediately imagine fireworks, applause, instant change, a life suddenly rearranged by magic. But the truth, the delicious truth, is that something big doesn't arrive with a bang. It doesn't knock politely. It creeps, it simmers, it brews quietly beneath the surface while the world keeps spinning, pretending nothing unusual is happening. And you're about to feel it. You're about to notice it before anyone else does, before the chaos of ordinary life drowns it out. Laughs softly, tilting his head as if amused by a secret. The world isn't ready for the extraordinary, often approaches quietly. Oh, how most people never see it coming. They imagine transformation like fireworks, like a sudden explosion that rearranges everything they thought they knew. Laughs low, but no, the extraordinary isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with drums or blinding lights. It creeps in like a shadow, brushing against the edges of your awareness while the world keeps spinning, pretending everything is ordinary. It's subtle, delicate, patient, and the ones who notice it first are the ones who are already awake in ways that others cannot even imagine. Most people never see it. They're trapped in routine, in distraction, in the comforting illusion that life is predictable. They are busy with noise, busy with fleeting pleasures, busy ignoring the small hints that something bigger is moving beneath the surface. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke, they fail to see the glimmer in a glance, the strange coincidence in a mundane conversation, the sudden feeling of being nudged towards something they cannot yet name. And because they ignore it, the extraordinary passes them by, slipping silently into the hands of the prepared, the attentive, the willing. The extraordinary has a rhythm, but it is subtle. Doesn't care for impatience, for fear, for the frantic attempts to grasp it before it's ready. It waits for those who can notice, for those who can feel the currents, for those who are sensitive to the vibrations beneath the surface of ordinary life. Laugh softly, tilting his head, timing is everything. A second too early, a step too late, a thought ignored, and it could have passed by unnoticed, leaving only the faintest trace for the unwary. The extraordinary tests you even before it arrives, teasing, nudging, whispering in ways so small that only the attentive can follow. Most people confuse loudness with significance. They believe that change, transformation, opportunity must announce itself with grandeur, with spectacle, with immediacy. But the subtle, the quiet, the nearly invisible, that is where the power lies. Laughs under his breath, the extraordinary hides in plain sight, disguised as ordinary events, hidden in moments that seem trivial, fleeting, insignificant. Only the prepared notice the pattern. Only the alert see the rhythm. Only the willing recognize the signal that something monumental is about to unfold. Laughs low, almost whispering, and here's the delicious irony. The extraordinary doesn't arrive because you demand it. It doesn't knock politely on your door. It doesn't care about schedules, plans, or expectations. It comes when it's ready, guided by forces invisible, deliberate, persistent. The world will keep spinning in its predictable chaos while something immense gathers momentum in the shadows. And if you're awake enough, alert enough, aware enough, you'll feel it before anyone else does. You'll sense it in the stir of the air, the flicker of a thought, the subtle alignment of events that, taken together, hint at the unfolding of something that could change everything. Most people miss this. They are too distracted, too impatient, too unwilling to pay attention to small signals. They skim over the moments that contain the first whispers of transformation. They laugh at coincidences, ignore gut feelings, dismiss intuition as imagination. But the extraordinary is patient. It does not require their recognition. It will continue to move, to align, to build, to wait for those who can see it. Laughs softly, voice curling, and when the prepared notice it, when they lean in, when they allow themselves to be guided by the subtle signs, the ordinary world suddenly starts to bend. The hidden currents become visible, and the first threads of transformation begin to weave themselves into reality. Awareness, patience, attentiveness. These are the keys. They separate the ones who stumble through life blind from the ones who step into the unfolding power, who ride the invisible currents, who sense the approach of the extraordinary before anyone else does. Laughs quietly, tilting his head. Every detail matters. Every subtle signal counts. Every fleeting moment is part of the pattern. The extraordinary doesn't shout. It whispers, it teases, it tests. And those who notice, who follow, who trust it, they are the ones who stand at the center of its unfolding, ready to catch what the world has been quietly preparing for them, hidden in plain sight, invisible to all but the alert, the patient, the daring. Laughs softly, the sound curling like smoke in the room's subtle signs. Oh, people underestimate them, don't they? They think life will hand them clear instructions, blinking arrows, flashing neon lights screaming, "This is it." Laughs low, but the universe, the extraordinary, it doesn't work that way. It's far too clever for that. It leaves breadcrumbs, tiny, delicate, almost invisible hints scattered across ordinary moments, waiting for someone awake enough to notice them, daring the inattentive to miss them entirely. And most people do. Most people walk right past, blind to the messages hidden in plain sight, convinced the world is as simple as it appears. The subtle signs aren't always obvious. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke. Sometimes they appear as coincidences, seemingly meaningless interactions, or fleeting glimpses that vanish before comprehension can catch up. Sometimes it's a feeling, a gut pull, a chill, a flicker of awareness that something isn't as ordinary as it seems. The chosen recognize these signs for what they are. They feel the rhythm beneath the chaos, the pattern beneath the noise, the pulse of something bigger moving silently, deliberately toward them. They know that ignoring these signs is not just a mistake, it's a refusal to participate in the unfolding of their own story. Most people are too distracted to notice. They are consumed with the urgent, the mundane, the superficial. Laughs low, shaking his head. They scroll, they scroll, they scroll. They talk, they talk, they talk. They miss the whispers because they are too busy making noise of their own. But the subtle signs, oh, they wait, they persist. They flicker, they shimmer, they nudge relentlessly, testing awareness, patience, and perception. And the chosen, they pay attention, they lean in. They notice patterns where others see chaos. They see signals where others see randomness. Laugh softly, almost whispering the beauty of subtle signs is in their quiet insistence. They don't demand, they don't shout, they never come with guarantees. They only appear, disappear, reappear, teasing, nudging, insisting that the attentive notice them. It's a game, a puzzle, a test, and only the patient, the perceptive, the daring can follow the trail to its source, to the unfolding of something that will change everything. Most will fail because they lack the discipline to pay attention, the courage to trust the invisible, the patience to wait for the pattern to emerge fully. Awareness is everything. Laughs low, tilting his head. Every detail, every small irregularity, every coincidence, every fleeting thought matters. The subtle signs are threads in a tapestry too intricate for the untrained eye. They connect moments, intentions, people, opportunities, ignore them, and the tapestry remains invisible, the pattern unnoticed, the doorway to the extraordinary unopened. Follow them, and suddenly the world begins to bend. Every small signal adds up, every flicker matters, every whisper counts. The universe is speaking in riddles, and the chosen, they hear the answer before the question is fully asked. Most people want clarity, immediacy, certainty. They demand signals that scream and flash and leave no room for doubt. Laughs quietly, but the extraordinary is far too clever for that. It rewards subtlety, patience, observation, courage. The signs are never obvious to the untrained eye. They require attention, perception, a willingness to lean in, to trust the invisible, to move without proof, to act without applause. The chosen learn to see the invisible, to sense the unseen, to follow the faintest whispers, and know they lead somewhere meaningful, somewhere transformative, somewhere that reshapes the ordinary into something magnificent. Laughs low, voice curling with mischief, and here's the twist. The subtle signs are as much about testing the chosen as they are about guiding them. They test patience, they test focus, they test courage. Every signal ignored is a lesson lost, every coincidence missed is an opportunity delayed. But the chosen, they see, they notice, they remember, they act, and in doing so, they align themselves with currents invisible to anyone else, preparing for the arrival of the extraordinary, moving step by deliberate step toward what the world has quietly been shaping just for them. The subtle signs are persistent. They do not vanish. They reappear, they reassert themselves, they insist upon recognition. The ordinary cannot comprehend them. The unprepared cannot follow them. But the chosen, oh, the chosen track them, study them, trust them, and in their attention, in their awareness, in their patience, they begin to witness the unfolding of a reality that has been quietly assembling, hidden in plain sight, invisible to everyone else, waiting for the one who dares to notice. Laughs softly, a low, deliberate sound that curls around the edges of thought, patience, such a deliciously misunderstood thing. People think it's about sitting quietly, waiting politely, surrendering to time like a fool sipping tea in a calm room. Laughs low, shaking his head, but real patience. Oh, real patience is far more dangerous, far more intoxicating. It is the ability to sit in chaos, to watch the world spin madly while you remain unmoved, attentive, calculating, sensing. It is hunger restrained, fire held in trembling hands without letting it burn everything around you. It is an art, a game, a subtle mastery of timing that most people are far too impatient to understand. Most people fail at it. They want immediacy, gratification, clarity, results now. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke, and when life does not comply, they panic, flail, distract themselves with noise, with busy work, with petty distractions. But the chosen, they know patience is a weapon. It is a tool. It is a subtle force that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the unaware from the awakened. To wait, really wait, is to observe, to see the faint patterns in the chaos, to notice the currents that others can't even sense. And those who master it, oh, they become dangerous, precise, aware, in ways the impatient could never imagine. Patience is not passive, laughs under his breath. No, it is active. It is deliberate, cunning, exacting. Every second of waiting sharpens perception, hones awareness, strengthens the instincts. The world tests the patient by offering distractions, delays, frustrations, obstacles, chaos disguised as reality, pretending that the ordinary is all there is. Most people react. They strike too early, they stumble, they crash into the noise. But the chosen, they wait, they watch, they feel, they lean in without a flinch. They learn to sense when the moment has arrived, when timing aligns with opportunity, when action will carry the weight of everything the universe has been preparing in secret. Laugh softly, almost sinisterly, and here's the fun part. Patience is a teacher. It reveals who you are, how you think, how much you can endure, how deeply you can trust the unseen, the invisible, the unknown. The impatient flee at uncertainty. They seek control, predictability, the illusion of comfort. But the chosen, they embrace uncertainty. They lean into it, revel in it, allow the tension to sharpen their senses, awaken intuition, align perception. Waiting becomes a dance, a thrill, a subtle test of awareness and courage. Every second endured is a victory, a strengthening, a preparation for what is coming, for what is already moving toward them in ways unseen, unheard, almost imperceptible. Most people are blind to timing. They strike too soon. They hesitate too long. Laughs quietly, they mistake urgency for importance, noise for signal, chaos for clarity. Patience allows you to feel the difference, to sense when the threads of fate are aligning, when the subtle currents of opportunity are merging into a pattern visible only to those who wait, watch, and trust. The chosen know this instinctively. They understand that every delay, every moment of stillness, every second of observation carries the seed of advantage, of clarity, of transformation. Laughs softly, voice curling, and the irony is delicious. Patience feels like stillness, but it is movement. It is energy conserved, refined, focused. It is not about doing nothing. It is about preparing, perceiving, aligning, sharpening the mind and senses until the precise moment arrives and action becomes effortless, inevitable, unstoppable. The ordinary flounders, strikes too soon, loses momentum. The patient, they strike at the apex, the perfect instant, when the currents have aligned, when chaos has revealed the pattern, when the invisible hand has nudged them into position. Most people will never understand the thrill of patient power. They want excitement, drama, immediate results, and they mistake impatience for action. Laughs quietly, shaking his head, but the chosen, they know. They feel it in their bones, in their awareness, in the subtle pull of timing and alignment. They move through life attuned to the invisible, attuned to the signals, attuned to the moments when restraint becomes the most potent form of action, when stillness carries the weight of the world, and when waiting transforms from a burden into a weapon, a key, a pathway to the extraordinary. Laugh slow, almost whispering. Patience is not a pause. It is a preparation, a sharpening, a dance with time itself, and the chosen, they learn to master it, to move with it, to become part of its rhythm, sensing, noticing, understanding, aligning, until the moment of action arrives, and everything shifts in a way only they could have anticipated, only they could have prepared for, only they could have seen coming. Laughs softly, voice curling like smoke in the corners of the room. Awareness, such a cruelly misunderstood force. People think they are aware, that they notice, that they see the world as it is. Laughs low, but real awareness is a predator. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wave banners. It creeps, it lingers, it waits for the unobservant to slip, to falter, to look away. The ordinary believe they perceive reality, but they only skim the surface, distracted by noise, comfortable in their illusions. The chosen, they notice the tremor beneath the surface, the subtle shift, the slight ripple in the fabric of what seems normal, and they lean in, feeling, sensing, interpreting what others fail to see. Most people run from it. Laughs quietly, shaking his head. Awareness demands honesty. It strips away the illusions we cling to, exposes our weaknesses, reveals what we ignore, and shows us the invisible threads connecting moments, people, and events. It is uncomfortable, disorienting, even frightening, and that's why so few are willing to truly embrace it. They prefer distraction, comfort, noise. They are content to float in ignorance, to believe the world is as simple as it appears. But the chosen, they don't turn away. They lean in, they study, they observe. They accept the chaos and extract the pattern hidden within it. The beauty of awareness is in its subtlety. Laughs low, almost whispering. It doesn't shout. It whispers, it flickers, it teases. A glance here, a tone there, a hesitation, a repetition, a fleeting coincidence. These are the breadcrumbs, invisible to the distracted, glaringly obvious to the alert. The chosen learn to follow them, not because they are told, not because the world insists, but because they feel the rhythm beneath the surface, the hidden pulse, the invisible current pulling toward the next moment, the next opportunity, the next revelation. Most people confuse busyness for awareness. Laugh softly. Tilting his head, they fill their days with noise, conversation, tasks, distractions, thinking that activity is equal to perception. But awareness demands stillness, focus, attention, and the courage to confront what you would rather ignore. Every signal matters, every irregularity counts, every subtle change carries meaning. The chosen notice these things, feel them in their bones, interpret them with instinct and intuition honed by patience, and use them to navigate a reality that most will never understand. Laughs quietly, voice curling with amusement. Awareness is a double-edged sword. It shows you the opportunities, but it also shows you the dangers, the betrayals, the cracks in the foundations of life you have taken for granted. It forces choice, decision, action. It strips away comfort, illusions, certainty. And yet the chosen welcome it, lean into it, savor the sharpness of insight, the thrill of understanding, the delicious tension between what is and what could be. Every observation becomes a clue, every detail a key, every fleeting moment a signpost guiding toward the unfolding extraordinary. Most people miss this entirely. They react, they panic, they overcommit, or they ignore. Laughs softly, almost sinisterly, the subtle signals, the hidden currents, the delicate patterns. They pass unnoticed, but the chosen, they feel the tug, the nudge, the imperceptible vibration in the edges of reality. They learn to interpret it, to trust it, to follow it, to let it guide their steps without hesitation, without doubt, without the need for validation from the ordinary, oblivious world around them. Awareness compounds. Every observation, every note taken, every moment of attention builds a reservoir of insight that grows, sharpens, and strengthens. Laughs quietly, voice curling. The chosen begin to see connections invisible to anyone else, patterns in chaos, the orchestration behind what seems random. They sense opportunities, anticipate challenges, recognize signals, and navigate the unfolding of events with a precision that feels almost supernatural to the unobservant. The ordinary cannot grasp it, the impatient cannot follow it, the fearful cannot endure it. But the chosen, they move within it, attuned, aligned, alive to the whispers that the rest of the world cannot hear. Laughs low, tilting his head. Awareness is not passive. It is active, deliberate, cunning. It requires focus, courage, patience, and the willingness to feel the world fully, without distraction, without escape, without flinching. And those who embrace it, who follow it, who let it shape their perception, they step into a reality hidden to the rest, a world pulsing with subtle signals, hidden currents, unseen opportunities, and in their attention, their patience, their courage, they begin to move toward what the universe has been quietly preparing, waiting for them in plain sight, invisible to everyone else, palpable only to the aware. laughs softly, almost as if savoring a secret the world isn't ready for courage. Such a misunderstood delight. People imagine it as loud, dramatic, heroic, something that everyone notices, applauds, admires. Laughs low, voice curling, but true courage, real courage, is far subtler, far stranger, far more intoxicating. It is not the roar of a crowd, the flash of recognition, the applause of the masses. It is the whisper in the dark that tells you to stand when every instinct screams to run, the quiet decision to act when uncertainty looms, the resolve to move forward when the ordinary would retreat. It lives in the spaces between fear and action, in the shadows where most people dare not tread, where the brave must step alone. Most people mistake confidence for courage. Laughs softly, shaking his head, bravado, bluster, noise, performance. They think these are the same. They confuse bold gestures for substance, appearances for power. But courage doesn't perform. Courage doesn't need an audience. Courage is quiet, patient, calculating, precise. It feels fear fully, acknowledges danger fully, but does not yield. The chosen, they sense it deep in their bones, a pulse of determination that insists on recognition, a subtle rhythm that drives them forward even when the world warns them to stop. Laughs under his breath, tilting his head. Courage thrives in the unseen, in the unpredictable, in the uncertain. It is tested daily, in small moments, in subtle choices, in actions that seem inconsequential to others. Every time you decide to stand when retreat would be easier, every time you act without the comfort of certainty, every time you embrace discomfort instead of fleeing, it compounds, sharpens, strengthens. The chosen, they feel the build-up, they notice the hidden pattern. They recognize that courage is less about spectacle and more about alignment, intuition, timing, perception. Most people flee from challenge. They run from discomfort. They cling to predictability as if it were a life raft, as if it could save them from the inevitable waves of chaos that life throws at everyone. Laughs softly, voice curling, but the courageous, they lean in. They watch the currents. They observe the subtle shifts. They act with precision, timing, and awareness. Every act of courage, no matter how small, sets a chain reaction into motion. Every choice, every movement, every risk taken reverberates through the unseen layers of reality, creating possibilities invisible to the timid, the distracted, the ordinary. Laughs quietly, almost sinisterly. Courage is not reckless, it is calculated. It sees the danger, the fear, the likelihood of failure, and moves forward anyway. The ordinary cannot comprehend this. They misjudge it. They think the courageous are fools, gamblers, lunatics, but the chosen, they understand that true courage is as much about perception as it is about action. It is about reading the signals others miss, trusting instincts others ignore, embracing the chaos that others flee from. The world tests the courageous at every turn, and yet they persist because they know that every risk carries the seeds of opportunity, every challenge holds a hidden key, every threat is a lesson disguised as danger. Laughs low, voice curling, and here's the delicious twist. Courage compounds, builds, transforms. The more you practice it, the more instinctive it becomes. The chosen, they feel it becoming part of them, entwined with awareness, patience, intuition, and timing. It allows them to navigate chaos with precision, to sense the unseen, to act decisively when others hesitate, to move confidently through uncertainty and fear. Every challenge becomes an opportunity, every discomfort a teacher, every risk a doorway. Most people will never understand this. They confuse caution for wisdom, hesitation for prudence, fear for insight. Laughs softly, tilting his head, but the chosen, They know better. They trust the pulse of courage in their bones, the whisper in the shadows, the subtle call of action that demands attention. They step forward when others would fall back. They endure when others collapse. They act when others hesitate. And through the quiet, deliberate, fearless embrace of what others flee, they begin to move through a world invisible to the timid, a world pulsing with hidden possibilities, a world that only the courageous can truly see, follow, and command. Laughs quietly, almost a whisper. Courage is not about victory or applause. It is about alignment, insight, action, perception. It is about reading the invisible, trusting the unseen, moving boldly through fear, and stepping into the extraordinary that waits quietly for the one willing to embrace it fully, without hesitation, without doubt, without retreat. Laughs softly, voice curling like smoke in the corners of a dimly lit room. Timing. Oh, how most people think they understand it, don't they? They believe it is about clocks, schedules, deadlines, the mechanical march of minutes and hours. Laughs low, shaking his head, but timing, real timing, is far stranger, far more deliciously precise. It is chaos captured, the invisible currents of events sensed and followed, the delicate alignment of opportunity and action that most people never notice because they are too impatient, too distracted, too convinced that the world must obey their sense of urgency. The chosen, they feel it deep in their bones, in the pulse of the air, in the subtle tremor of moments that seem ordinary to everyone else. Most people strike too soon, laugh softly, almost whispering. They see a sign, a hint, a whisper of possibility, and they act before the pattern has fully revealed itself. They mistake the flutter of coincidence for certainty, the stir of intuition for command, and then, inevitably, failure, chaos, frustration. The chosen, they wait, they lean in, they observe. They notice the invisible threads weaving the world into a pattern that will only be visible if approached with patience, awareness, and courage. Timing, after all, is not passive. It is active, deliberate, demanding. It is both shield and sword, lens and compass, guide and test. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke. The universe has a rhythm, subtle and precise. Most are deaf to it. They miss the faint signals, the minor irregularities, the coincidences too sharp to ignore. The chosen, they hear it, feel it, sense it, like a pulse beneath the surface of ordinary life. Every moment matters. Every hesitation, every glance, every flicker counts. The world conspires with timing, preparing the stage, aligning the threads, nudging the patient, alert, daring forward until the perfect instant arrives. Most people will never see it, never feel it, never understand that their impatience has robbed them of countless opportunities. Timing tests you relentlessly, deliciously. Laughs low, almost sinisterly, it demands patience, observation, and the courage to hold still while the world rushes past, blind and frantic. Every second of waiting is a calculation, every delay a sharpening, every observation an alignment with forces unseen. The chosen, they do not panic, they do not strike randomly. They read the subtle cues, follow the invisible currents, and wait for the moment when action will be effortless, inevitable, precise. Impatience is the enemy. Haste is the trap. Precision is the power of the one who waits and watches, of the one who understands that timing shapes the extraordinary. Most people do not recognize opportunity when it arrives because they are too busy, too loud, too clumsy. Laughs softly, tilting his head. Timing is invisible to them. It requires awareness, focus, courage, and trust in the unseen. The chosen, they sense the subtle vibration beneath the chaos, the invisible alignment of events. the faint pulse that heralds transformation. They move through life attuned to this rhythm, patient, deliberate, alert. Every act, every decision, every moment is positioned in harmony with the currents that most would never even notice. Laughs quietly, voice curling, and here's the thrill. The most exquisite part of timing is that it rewards patience and punishes haste. The ordinary falters, strikes too soon, or waits too long. But the chosen, they navigate the invisible, anticipate the alignment, and act with precision that feels almost supernatural. Every thread they touch, every opportunity they seize, every step forward compounds with the currents of timing, creating momentum, clarity, and advantage invisible to the frantic, the fearful, the distracted. Timing is a form of mastery,